So good morning, everybody, and welcome you to the August 27th, 2024 meeting of the Calvert County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I'd like to ask Father Kilner if he'd come forward and give us an invocation.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good and gracious Father, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for this place where you have sent us, where your most holy will has placed us, this gem of our state, Calvert County. We ask you to bless us abundantly and continue the many blessings. I just want to praise you, Lord, for a beautiful community, for a beautiful place that we live, for the beautiful calling that you've given us to love you with all our hearts, all our soul, all our mind, all our strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves, and how good it is to see brothers and sisters dwelling together and loving you. We ask you to bless us abundantly, bless this conversation we're about to have, bless all our endeavors that they may always be according to your will, and helping each and every person whom we encounter. May we love with the love of your most sacred heart. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
The Father, the Son, and the Spirit. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So Father Kilner comes to us from Our Lady Star of the Sea Church in Solomon's, and is school starting today for you too?
School began on Wednesday of last week. So those teachers wanted to start early so they could end early.
That's
There you
great.
go.
That's great.
Very, very blessed.
Yeah. Well,
I
thank
used to
you.
go to school there.
In what sense?
It's true. It's true. It's very true. There was not some of those buildings over there then. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah, you probably weren't born when I went there.
That's very accurate. Blessing to be with you all. I really appreciate the invitation. And I gotta say, of all the government meetings I've been to, this is probably the most joyful. So thank you for the tone that you set, and thank you everyone for all the hard work you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Doing well.
So very.
Yeah.
So I've got a second priest with me now, so I'm doing really well.
Wow.
So
It
we
was
have
Father Joyce and Sister Mary Luke when I was there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's going, who are they?
So yeah, I only see him on paperwork. That's it.
Right.
All right.
we have a new priest in Preparedness who's very young.
Oh, Father John.
Yeah, and last Sunday he was talking about when they started the daycare program at the church, and he said, I could have been in it. Because I think he's only 30.
I think he's 30, 31. So
Yeah, he's really young. So it's good to see young leaders
Absolutely.
in the church. Yeah, so it's very good to have
Glad
you.
to hear it's doing well.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
I'm going to see you Saturday,
All right. See
but
you.
I'm not doing confession.
That's all right. I'll keep reeling you in.
It would just take too long.
All right.
You can take Mike to the back room, Commissioner.
I'm a fisher of men, and sometimes you got to fight for that.
You guys still have that ruler in a frame, right, with my name underneath it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's a relic. Nobody.
Oh, yeah. It's going in the museum, I'm sure, at some point.
It's a museum
Yeah.
piece, right? Of course, nothing else would do.
I'm going to put extra in the plate for you Saturday.
God bless you all. We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Thank
Father.
you. Have a good day.
Can we just stop with that?
That's a good meeting.
So
Thank you
next-
for coming.
Next item on the agenda is approve the agenda. Are there any corrections or additions?
Have none.
I'll make a motion that we approve and adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion that we approve and adopt the agenda as presented. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public service announcements. The main one I have today is school started. So we want you, as you're out moving around Calvert County, be wary. The buses are out, and little kids are running around. It's the first day. I'm sure they're excited, or maybe not. The parents are really excited, so just be careful. And Superintendent Townsel's here. You want to say anything? Yes, sir. Dr. Townsell? You can talk about how it went so far today.
Yes, indeed.
You
So
can
far-
raise that up,
Raise it up.
squeeze it, and there you go.
Good morning, everyone. Today is the first day of school in Calvert County. Very excited about the first day. So we have something called the Journey of a Graduate. And what we say is that when a young person comes through Calvert County Public School, when they graduate, we expect them to be engaged citizens, empowered learners, collaborators, communicators, and critical thinkers, especially in the world of artificial intelligence. We need our young people to communicate effectively and efficiently. In addition, we have new policies in Calvert County Public Schools, specifically dress code. Although young people are allowed to wear headwear, face, ears must be visible at all times, and there's no hoods. They can wear a hoodie, but they cannot have a hood on their head. Additionally, we have a new cell phone policy and smartwatch policy, whereas a young person, you can bring it to school, but once you get in that building, it must be powered off, turned off, and concealed. And lastly, electronics policy, because we provide laptops to all young people 3rd grade through 12th grade and pre-K through 2nd grade with iPads. Young people cannot bring their personal devices to school because we provide technology. We want to keep young people as safe as they possibly can be, kind of get them off of that social media access and get them locked into our curriculum. So we're very excited about that. The only thing I ask is that we get our guardians and our parents to support us in enforcing that. So reinforce that at home with your young people. The expectation, we sent out letters to staff and faculty as well as parents. We sent a video. We over communicated it. I'm here saying it. I believe our secret recipe is that we have our parents and guardians to reinforce what we're doing at the school, and it will be a great year. Additionally, just keep your ears open. The test data is not embargoed anymore. It's going to be presented at the State Board of Education of how school districts did across the state with regards to academic achievement. And I'm proud to share, although they're going to present it later, we're still top 5, top 4 in specific categories like mathematics and ELA. So we're holding our position, but I believe with the policy we have in place this academic year, we were going to go to the next level in the upcoming year with regards to testing because our young people are engaged more than ever before. And the very last thing, I'll park my bus on this, NBC4 was here to interview Calvert County Public School. They were specifically at Northern High School. Young people did a phenomenal job representing and celebrating the school year. So I hope and pray that everyone have an excellent 24-25 academic year. And the very last note, I want to share that Calvert County Public School Administration has been in consistent communication with the Finance and Budget Department of the county because we understand that FY26 will also present its challenges. So we're communicating early and often. So when we get to those tough opportunities, there's more of an understanding we're all on the same page with where we are financially. We're going to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. So with that, thank you. Thank you, Sheriff. I see your officers out there holding it down, so we appreciate you, sir. Yep.
You know,
Thank
Doc,
so much.
I told Zach going into the school year after, reading it, he goes, Dad, because he does all the sports and everything. He says, what if I could get a hold of you? I said, it's called lunch hour, son. So when you go to work, if you're a brain surgeon, do you stop in middle operation? Hey, I need to check my Twitter account. I'm like, you wonder why everybody's attached to these phones. You're there for a job. You're there to learn.
Yeah.
You're punching in for work. You're there to learn. You get your time. That's your break at lunch. If you've
Yes.
got a different schedule thing, and then after that, so no, as an employer, I get so frustrated that walking in 5 minutes after work, on the phone in hand, can't put it down, not engaged. No, there are essential pieces in life, yes, but there are times we will survive without being on it every minute of the day.
100%. And before I came here, I'm just leaving Calvert High School. I had an opportunity to speak to a classroom. Teacher said, Dr. Townsend, thank you guys so much for putting this in place because kids are not like this. They're like this. Mm-hmm. And I've walked in probably a dozen classrooms today, young people engaged and locked in. And I spoke with them and said, hey, listen, I know you were all over the summer. You had unlimited access. Now you're here, let's lock it in. And young people are so far responding to that. We know this is day 1 and hour 2. But we're confident I told the team, I said, be visible, be vocal, and be vigilant. Triple V's. They want to see you, hear you, and they got to feel your presence all times. So that's what we're doing. And it's going to be tough, but we're going to persevere, and then we're going to have the ultimate return on investment with student achievement and post-secondary. All those things are going to come. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, and we're glad to hear those changes. We think that it's important.
And you did do a great job of getting that message out there. It was all over the place.
Yeah, good. thank you. Good luck. So that was the only public service announcement I have today. Just be wary when you're out traveling on the roads for buses and kids and cars and parents, especially when you're around the schools, because it can get a little hectic, especially on the first day. So thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is a proclamation, the National Preparedness Month. Commissioner Ireland. Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dave McDowell, Director of Public Safety. I have some staff here with me as well from Emergency Management. And we are here today in support of Preparedness Month. And I would like to say that preparation goes hand in hand with mitigation. And to that end, I would like you and the residents of this county to know that we do have some resources available right on our website. It's Calvert Alert and Calvert Prepared. And those are apps that you can put right on your devices. And you will be alerted to certain events like weather and traffic and such, anything that could affect public safety or that the public needs to be informed about. Calvert Prepared gives you tips on how to prepare for, hazardous weather events, snow, so on and so forth. So those resources are out there, and I want you to know that the staff from public safety is totally committed to what they do every day, and we really appreciate this proclamation.
Thank you. If each of you could come up and introduce yourselves and say a couple words.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Garrison, Emergency Manager. Just like to thank you for your support when we come before you. Appreciate your support always, and as well, appreciate the folks that stand behind me to do a lot of great work for the citizens here in the county. Thank you.
Come on up. Dave, you want to come on up?
Good morning, Commissioners. Kara Buckmaster, Emergency Management Specialist. I run most of our community outreach, plan updates, and help with the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. Just want to put it out there that I'm happy to come out to any community event and speak to residents about ways they can prepare their households and their communities. My information is on the website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Stacy O'Donnell, Hazard Mitigation Specialist, and thanks for your support.
Good morning, Tony Hughes, Exercise Planner. We're in the final stages of the CalVex exercise coming up here in a few weeks. Looking forward to a successful exercise and hopefully no issues at all. Thanks for your time.
I'm Kim Gott, in the Emergency Management Office. I try to keep these guys focused.
Ma'am, could you step back? How long have you been an employee here? How long have you worked in emergency management?
I'm ancient. I've been here forever.
Forever. Can you tell us what you do?
I try to keep these guys straight.
Yeah, but come on, go into detail, Kim. You've seen a lot of this.
Well, I've done a little bit of everything in emergency management because there's been a lot of vacancies over the years, so I've filled in. Right now, I'm doing the secretarial stuff.
Good. She's a wealth of knowledge. That's why I wanted to try to pull it out of her, but you can come up.
I don't like talking about myself.
So, I mean, we could have a lot of emergencies, but hurricane season is upon us. We could have flooding, we could have a lot of issues. So I would encourage citizens to look up the Calvert Prepared. Look it up, and maybe you can get some tips and pointers out of there, but be prepared. Being prepared is a lot of the battle. So I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas emergency preparedness is a shared responsibility of the entire nation. Every community, business, family, and individual has a role in planning and preparing for emergencies and disasters of all kinds. Whereas National Preparedness Month is observed each September and provides an opportunity to highlight the important role of citizens as they prepare for emergencies in their homes, businesses, schools, and communities. This nationwide observance encourages all Americans to learn more ways to prepare for all types of emergencies, from natural disasters to potential terrorist attacks. And whereas the United States Department of Homeland Security Federal Emergency Management Agency urges all Americans to observe National Preparedness Month by taking time to build an emergency supply kit, make a family emergency plan, be informed about different threats and their appropriate responses, and get involved in preparing their community. And whereas Maryland recognizes the importance of preparing for potential emergencies and is proud to observe the month with appropriate events, preparedness, information, and activities. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that the month of September 2024 be known as Calvert County Preparedness Month. Be it further proclaimed that all citizens are urged to join with the Calvert County Department of Public Safety, Division of Emergency Management, in carrying the message of preparedness to the community. Given under our hands and sealed this 27th day of August 2024, signed by all 5 county commissioners.
scooch in just a little bit.
On the top, on the side.
Yep. Three, two, one. Thanks so much. Congrats, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.
You gotta remind me on the night.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is some recognitions. We're going to recognize some county staff for some continuing education. Good morning.
Good morning,
Director.
Commissioners. Mary Beth Cook, Director of Planning and Zoning. I'm going to switch hats. I'm actually on the Leadership Council for Leadership Southern Maryland. With me is Chris Breedlove from the Board of Directors, and if Sybil Anderson would join me, she's the Executive Director. So we'd like to thank you for another year of support with providing funding for staff to participate in these programs. So first up, we're going to recognize members that graduated from the executive program. Program connects, educates, and inspires a diverse group of leaders, fostering collaboration that addresses the community needs of Calvert, Charles, and St. Mary's. So I'd like to share that I was actually a member of the class of 2017, best class ever, and you're going to hear that again. But it was really a life-changing program for me personally. I stayed involved and am still involved with the program. So with that, would you like to say anything, Sybil?
Thank you. So good morning, Commissioners. Good morning. So I also really want to personally thank you and Calvert County government for sending so many really wonderful people through Leadership Southern Maryland. It's a partnership that really is aimed at enhancing life in the county, enhancing life in the region, and it works. Having Calvert County representatives at the table is really meaningful. We know that this is a difficult budget year, and everybody's having to tighten belts, which means that we won't have Calvert County government representatives at the table this year, but you are very much with us. We know that folks are a phone call away. Commissioner Hance, you'll be with us in a couple of weeks. Sheriff Cox comes to speak to the class. And so even as we've had to tighten belts, we know that you're there, and we greatly appreciate this partnership. So thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Breedlove is a program chair and also board of director for Leadership Southern Maryland, class of 2018, the also best class ever. It shows a true testament. Look around this room. I can point out over a dozen people that have been through the program. Not only is something that you just can't learn from a classroom, you're learning from other fellow leaders throughout the community in all aspects of Southern Maryland and so forth, which make you a better person. So again, thank you for all your support throughout all the years to help this program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we have Erin Lowe from Communications and Media Relations. Karen Molinas from Department of Parks and Recreation. Kat Poff from Technology Services. Lieutenant Robert Selkirk from the Sheriff's Office. Sheba Smith from Economic Development. And our very own Chris Sperling from Planning and Zoning.
It's been a tough course.
Yeah. If you miss a question, they take care of you, don't you? You won't miss that next question, will you?
Perfect.
Don't mind us.
So Blake.
Congratulations. Man, you got his other arm. Congratulations. Thank you.
What decade? Century? A century or decade?
So we have a second group to recognize from Leadership Southern Maryland. Originally, there was only an executive program, and we were having a lot of young leaders applying for the program that weren't quite ready for the executive program. So the LEAP program was created to recognize emerging leaders and to take them through a series of experiences that facilitate, foster, and refine their individual leadership, understanding, and abilities through a structured course curriculum that focuses on self-discovery, teamwork, networking, and true leadership training for these young people. So I would like to recognize from Planning and Zoning, Jessica Gattano.
Leadership Southern Maryland LEAP 2024, best cause ever.
Lieutenant Paul Nicholson from the Department of Public Safety, and he was actually voted the class speaker. I attended graduation, and he did a fabulous job.
Good deal.
And Emily Sullivan from Parks and Recreation.
Name tags around? Yeah, I got it. Thanks. Three, two, one. One more. Congratulations. Thanks. Have a good day. Congrats. Hey, congratulations. Congrats. Thank you.
So while this wasn't on the agenda, we were told this morning that Officer Nick DeFelice from the Calvert County Sheriff's Office has been recognized as the National Deputy of the Year.
Yes, Commissioner Hance, he's recognized in New Orleans for the American Legion hosts that. He got picked for the nation, so we're going to recognize him tomorrow night in New Orleans. So.
We'll get him in here one day.
Yep,
One, two.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, I appreciate that.
All right,
Thank you. Have a good week.
Thank you.
So next item on the agenda is appointment.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Turner, Deputy County Administrator. Today, there is one appointment for the Planning Commission. The Board is being asked to adopt a motion to fill a vacancy by Commission Member Lisa Williams' expiring term with one of the four applicants with an effective date of September 1, 2024.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Ready for a motion? I
Always
move we appoint Dale Weems to the Calvert County Planning Commission effective September 1, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Dale Weems to the Planning Commission. Is there any discussion on that motion?
Yes. Okay. While I know Dale Weems, not as well as my three commissioners to the left of me, I feel that we have had a lot of problems on this planning commission. I feel we should have clean commissions, clean boards. We have a young lady coming off, well, she's off now, and her dad was a builder-developer, and she had to recuse herself numerous times. Last couple of times in votes that were pertinent, she did not recuse herself, and the public was very upset about it. We got a lot of chatter about the fact that who puts these people on these boards, who are they in the pocket of? What I want to avoid is I want to avoid the perception of anything out of the ordinary. Now, Mr. Weems, great guy, but in the past 5 years, he has pulled 27 permits. He does commercial and residential building. He's a president of the building board. He's on the liquor board. He's on the architectural review, Waterman's Wharf oversight, and a part-time building inspector, and he will have to resign from the building inspector position. While I appreciate his service to the county, the perception of us putting someone else on the board with another connection to building is not transparent. It's not something that I want to see. So therefore, my vote will be no for Dale Weems.
Any other discussion?
The only thing I wanted to add is, Dale's been very good to me for advice on, there was a issue on my last board, actually, that he was very helpful on. I know he's very knowledgeable with this. But the last bit of time at the planning commission, and I will speak to it in my commissioner comments, has been a little different. And my fear is subjecting him to some maybe criticism that wouldn't be deserving because of him having so much knowledge in there. And I was looking at myself going, you know, being in the alcohol business as long as I have, if I was put on the liquor board, would probably open me up to some of that criticism, even though I know the industry very well, but just that sometimes I think knowing it so well and the experiences there can work against you. So my fear is I don't want to, somebody who's trying to help and do a positive thing, I don't want to put them in a situation where, to no fault of their own, they may get some criticism that's not deserved. I think he could do a very good job. But that's my reservations, is that especially as tenuous as it is right now, going through these comprehensive plans, going through all these zoning changes, there's going to be a lot of bullets being fired at that board, and that board has a lot of power. And I don't personally, I just think it wouldn't be fair to him to have to go through that scrutiny because he's done nothing to deserve that. So that's just my reservations. But I think he's a very honorable person. It's nothing at him negative at all.
Any other discussion?
One thing I'm gonna add is, you know, Dale Williams, I've known my whole life. He's a person that has morals and he has high integrity. He's gonna do the right thing. I know he'll do the right thing. I appreciate the concern of Commissioner Hart. Dale's given back to his community his entire life. He cares about our county, and he's gonna do the right thing.
Any other discussion?
Well, I hope so. You know, I really hope so. We ran on being opposed to high-density housing, and just the perception, I hope he does do the right thing. I've been very disappointed with this planning commission, as have been many of our citizens. I just want transparency, and I don't like the perception that I'm seeing. Thank you.
So, and just for the record, if there are any ethics issues, they will be cleared up. There won't be any tolerance for ethic violations. So if
I hope so.
he has, well, there won't be.
There won't be.
There won't be. And I don't think it's fair to put Mr. Weems in the same category as the other issue that we've been dealing with the last couple of years. I don't think that he has that same level of involvement as that person did, so it does make a difference.
Well, we'll see. When you pull 27 permits over a 5-year period, that's my trepidation. So we'll see, and I hope it does work out that way. Like him very much. I do not know him as well as the three of you, but that's my trepidation.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a public hearing. We're there. Mr. County Attorney?
Thank you, sir. There are 5 public hearings scheduled for today. All the hearings were duly advertised, and the certificate of publication is made a part of the record for each of the hearings. Citizens were invited to provide comment on any or all of the hearings after the presentation has concluded. Those who have signed up to speak here in front of me or raise their hand through the virtual meeting will be offered an opportunity to speak. Each public hearing will have separate sign-up sheets and separate opportunity for those joining virtually to raise their hand. Anyone here that wants to speak must sign in or raise their hand. I'm going to turn the floor over to the first public hearing.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Public
Good
Safety
morning.
Director Dave McDowell. I have staff here with me today. We're going to make a presentation for the acquisition of residences that are in Lusby, that are in, I'm sorry?
Sorry.
Okay, that are in, basically by the way they're situated on the edges of cliffs and due to erosion, they've now become more of a safety hazard than they should be. So we, through the program with FEMA, are going to, hopefully with your approval, purchase these 2 properties, and then that way we can level those homes and make that a safe space.
So who do you have with you today, Mr. Director?
So
They can introduce themselves.
I'm gonna have them introduce themselves.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kara Buckmaster, Emergency Management Specialist.
Good morning, Stacy O'Donnell, Hazard Mitigation Specialist.
Morning. Thank you.
Background. The Department of Public Safety Emergency Management Division is working with Calvert County residents and has received a Federal Emergency Management Agency hazard mitigation grant to acquire and demolish 3 homes in imminent danger due to cliff erosion. FEMA bears the cost of the projects at 90% of the approved budget and 10% by the homeowners. The Maryland Department of Emergency Management is the award recipient, and Calvert County is the subrecipient. As part of the agreement, the county acts as a pass-through for the FEMA funds to acquire and demolish the properties. Calvert County must forward fund the federal share of this project and then submit requests for reimbursement as expenses are incurred. The budget amendment to fund this project was approved via Resolution 3323. Discussion. Due to the rapid cliff erosion, the structure at 12186 Laramie Lane in Lusby was demolished in May 2024, and the property returned to a natural state per the grant agreement before acquisition. The remaining requirement to complete this project is for Calvert County to acquire the property. An addendum will be added to the deed to require the property to remain as open space in perpetuity. Fiscal impact. No additional funding is required at this time. The budget adjustment, BA 2024-000102, was approved on October 3rd, 2023. It placed $1,457,831.70 to acquire 3 separate properties under the Capital Improvement Plan, CIP 000316. CIP 000316 will no longer be used, and separate CIP accounts will be assigned to each property in order to organize the funding and associated assets accordingly. That budget adjustment is 2025-000109. An additional amendment is needed to record the private contributions the county will receive at settlement to be placed in escrow for the homeowners, BA 2025-000106. These funds will be used to pay for the demolition, debris removal, and reforestation of the property. Any funds remaining after completing these tasks will be refunded to the homeowner. The capital project number is 431. The property address is 12186 Laramie Lane. The federal share for this project is $316,953.45. The private share is $30,373.80. And the total project cost is $347,327.25. Conclusion recommendation. The Department of Public Safety Emergency Management Division requests the Board of County Commissioners review and, if agreeable, close the record, approved budget adjustments 2025-106 and 2025-109, and authorize the President to sign the contract of sale and settlement and grant documents to move forward with the acquisition, demolition, and restoration of 12186 Laramie Lane.
So, what happens to the property after we buy it?
After it's purchased, it will be returned to its natural state. Laramie Lane is essentially already at that point, but after that happens, there is a deed addendum, an addendum that's added to the deed to require it to remain in its natural state in perpetuity. There are some very limited uses that it can be used for. However, because of the location of these properties with the proximity to the cliffs and the very obvious public safety hazard that exists, those aren't likely to happen.
Right. And there's still numerous properties you're monitoring, right?
Correct.
So this program is gonna be ongoing forever.
Most likely, yes, unless there is another solution that presents itself. Right now, this is the best one we have. It's the most cost-effective and the safest.
Right.
And this is the famous tiger beetle stuff, right?
Yes.
People don't know going back in time, right?
It's a two-part issue. So first is the cliffs are protected, they're in critical area, they're preserved. The other issue is there are the period and tiger beetles along certain sections of the cliffs. Not all of the properties that are being acquired through this program have Puritan tiger beetle presence, but that also limits what can be done to help mitigate the hazard.
And if people don't know, this property's part of the Chesapeake Branch Estates. And it's not just homes, you know, it's eroded the road. I don't know the name of the road right
Golden
now.
West Way,
Golden West Way, it's
right?
taken the
That's that
road out.
extension back that part, right?
Used to be a through
I
road.
believe so.
Yeah, right.
Yep, used to go all the way to First Beach, I believe is what they call it, yeah.
All the way to Catalina, right?
Yep, yep.
So people have said, you know, fix the road, but you can't fix the road. As has been stated, the cliffs are protected. You can't go in there and do any work really, so.
I wish we had other options to present to the homeowners.
Yeah, it's
'cause-
sad, 'cause that's a long way, we were talking about this morning, that's a long way for emergency vehicles. If you have to go up to that and then turn all the way around, you
Right.
know, we're,
Right.
you know, that's,
It takes a long time to get back there to some of them.
Right, and it's important to know that the cliffs are protected because of the tiger beetle, so people aren't allowed to go in there and take proactive measures to protect their homes. So that's why the government, federal government has stepped in and say, well, then we'll buy your property.
and they're dangerous down underneath of them, I mean, so.
Yeah.
Do we do anything to keep people from being on top of those cliffs, like when we condemn this area, so as to speak, because they do go underneath and start, the shelf is not firm underneath. Do we do anything to keep people from being on those edges?
We just had a conversation recently with Public Works about this. I believe they have no trespassing signs posted at these
okay.
properties or
But there's no
ensuring.
fences installed or anything like that, I think is what.
No.
We probably need to make sure we got plenty of signage, telling us dangerous.
Yeah, somebody lost a hot tub one year, right? Didn't the hot
There's
tub
a
go?
backstory. Yeah, I saw that hot tub before and after. There's a backstory.
Okay,
Mr.
don't go
President.
there, don't go there.
No one has signed up to speak, but there are two participants virtually. If they would press *9 to raise your hand, if you wish to provide comment. This is 12186 Laramie Lane. They have not raised their hand.
Any other discussion? Motion?
Yes, Mr. President. I move that we close the record, approve budget amendments BA 2025-106 and BA 2025-109, and authorize the president to sign the contract of sale and settlement and grant documents to move forward with the acquisition, demolition, and restoration of 12186 Laramie Lane, Lusby, Maryland.
Second.
A motion and a second that we approve this action for, any other discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next.
Okay. The next is the public hearing for 1161 Stagecoach Circle, Lusby, Maryland. Background. The Division of Emergency Management, working with and for Calvert County residents, has received a Federal Emergency Management Agency hazard mitigation grant to acquire and demolish 3 homes in imminent danger due to cliff erosion. FEMA bears the cost of the projects at 90% of the approved budget and 10% by the homeowners. The Maryland Department of Emergency Management is the award recipient, and Calvert County is the subrecipient. As part of the agreement, the county acts as a pass-through for the FEMA funds to acquire and demolish the properties. Calvert County must forward fund the federal share of the project and then submit requests for reimbursement as expenses are incurred. The budget adjustment to fund this project was approved via Resolution 3323. Discussion. Calvert County will acquire 1161 Stagecoach Circle, Lusby, Maryland, demolish all structures on the property, and return it to a natural state per the grant agreement. Once acquired, an addendum will be added to the deed, requiring the property to remain in open space in perpetuity. Fiscal impact. No additional funding is required at this time. BA 2024-102 was approved October 3rd, 2023, and placed $1,457,831.70 to acquire 3 separate properties under CIP 316. CIP 316 will no longer be used, and separate CIP accounts will be assigned to each property in order to organize the funding and associated assets accordingly. That is BA 2025-103. An additional amendment is needed to record the private contributions the county will receive at settlement to be placed in escrow for the homeowners. BA 2025-107. These funds will be used to pay for the demolition, debris removal, and reforestation of the property. Any funds remaining after completing these tasks will be refunded to the homeowner. CIP Project 430, property address is 1161 Stagecoach Circle. The federal share is $592,602. The private share is $45,627.70. And the total project cost is $638,229.70. Conclusion recommendation. The Department of Public Safety Emergency Management Division requests the Board of County Commissioners review and, if agreeable, close the record, approve budget adjustments 2025-103 and 2025-107, and authorize the President to sign the memorandum of agreement and contract of sale to move forward with the acquisition and subsequent demolition of 1161 Stagecoach Circle, Lusby, Maryland.
No one has signed up in person. If either of the 2 callers would like to provide public comment on 1161 Stagecoach Circle, please press star 9 to raise your hand. There are no virtual comments either.
Motion. Mr. President, I move that we close the record, approve budget amendments BA 2025-103 and BA 2025-107, and authorize the President to sign the memorandum of agreement and contract of sale to move forward with the acquisition, demolition, and restoration of 1161 Stagecoach Circle, Lusby, Maryland.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we approve this action. Any discussion on that motion?
None.
So you all heard the discussion. It's just like the previous public hearing. It's just.
Correct.
Coincidentally, it's in Chesapeake Branch Estates also. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Commissioners, I'd like to just, if I may, acknowledge the hard work the staff puts into putting these projects together. It really does span a great deal of time, and as you can tell, there's a lot of small details that have to be monitored and make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's, and they just really do a fantastic job. I just want to let everybody know that.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Mr. County Attorney,
Yes, sir.
next public hearing.
Mr. Miller make the presentation. We'll ask any of the two virtual callers, if you wish to provide comment on the local preference, please press star 9 to raise your hand. You'll be called after the presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning. Bruce Miller, Finance Director for the record. I would like to read the memo background. In 2018, the Calvert County Board of County Commissioners requested and was given authority to apply a reciprocal preference when awarding contracts. The reciprocal preference requires that the county give a preference to a residential bidder over a non-resident bidder that is equal to the preference given by the county or state in which the non-resident bidder has its principal office to bidders that have a principal office in that county or state. The county reciprocal preference is intended to help a Calvert County business that is being penalized for being a Calvert County business where the lowest bidder on a Calvert County job enjoys a local preference in its home jurisdiction. An analysis of Calvert County's procurement activities from 2022 to 2024 shows that despite the reciprocal preference, non-resident businesses prevail over local in both participation and amount awarded. Combining local preference policies with reciprocal preference considerations could help to level the field for local businesses, ensuring they have a fair chance in the competitive bidding process. Therefore, the BOCC undertook a multi-year campaign, and with the support of our community and the county centers and delegation, will have on October 1st, 2024, authority to implement a local preference in procurement bidding. The adopted public local law defines a local business as one with its principal office in Calvert County. The principal office is where the principal executive office of a domestic or foreign corporation is located, and that is designated in the annual report or application for authority to transact business in the state. Discussion. The Deputy County Administrator, then the Turner Economic Development Director, Julie Oberg, and the Department of Finance and Budget Director, Bruce Miller, gathered subject matter experts from the community to formulate a working draft ordinance to implement the county's new authority. These community leaders and experts in their fields considered many factors, including balancing taxpayer burden with higher pricing and taxpayer benefit of money originating in the county and staying in Calvert County. They also had to consider the potential that other jurisdictions have their own reciprocal preference, which means that a Calvert County business would be penalized when applying to do work in a different county because Calvert has a local preference. The enclosed reflects the first working draft presented for discussion and input. Fiscal impact. Any higher costs should be returned in personal property and income taxes from enhanced revenues for local businesses. Conclusion and recommendation. Staff requests that the Board of County Commissioners conduct a public hearing, which is we're having, and if deemed appropriate, based on the record, approve and adopt the proposed ordinance to implement a preference for local businesses in procurement and bidding. Thank you, sir. We have three people who would like to provide public input. The first is Gail Reed.
If you would please come up to the microphone, identify yourself, and whether speaking as an individual will be allocated 2 minutes, or as the designated representative of a group will be allocated 5.
I cannot talk in 2 minutes. My name is Gail Reed, and I am a school bus contractor in Calvert County. I also provide services for Parks and Recreation. We have provide services for the therapeutic camp in Calvert County. One of our concerns is that we have not been allowed so far to bid on the actual summer work that camps do, that the Parks and Rec provide for them. As I am a binder person, this binder contains everything that Parks and Rec has sent me throughout our history with them. One of our concerns is that we are given a award letter from the Office of Finance, but it doesn't have the length of time on it, which would be considered when the service is provided. But we are in favor of local procurement, and we would like the opportunity to bid on services in Calvert County. The service that is provided right now to Calvert County for Parks and Rec for the summer is from a system in Anne Arundel County, and they are charged from Route 50 to Calvert County, the service in Calvert County, all the way back to Route 50, which is a lot of money. And they're paid way more than us. Now, I would love to have the money, so I'm not going to complain about that. But the thing is that the county is spending way too much money outside the county, and it's not coming back to us for service. So part of our system is that we hire people in Calvert County. I just hired another person who lives in Calvert County, and so their money has to go to Calvert County. So we want to look forward to having business in the county and providing services to the county so that our employees can also do the same. I think I'm in my two business. Thank you.
Thank you.
The second participant is Kathy Manny.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning. Kathy Manny with the Calvert Chamber. I'm going to make this short and sweet, which you know is not my normal. But on behalf of the Chamber Board of Directors and our members, I want to thank the Board of County Commissioners and their staff for working with the Chamber and our partners, Calvert County Minority Business Alliance and the Southern Maryland Minority Chamber of Commerce. Who would have thought we would have got here? 3 long years, but we persevered. So thank you for your hard work and working with us. What is being proposed for RBP3, which is a mouthful, so thank you for the acronym, may not be where it will remain long, but it does give us a starting point. In the, what was in the online, it says we'll be assessing this every year. Who knows how this is going to work? It's new, right? Other counties have had it, they've had to turn it off. But I can see that this is a place that we can start, bringing monies back for the government, for our vendors, our businesses, and I look forward to working with you on a continued basis to make sure that this works for all. Thank you so much. And a huge thank you to everyone who had to pour through documents, Kathy McAdams, I know, Economic Development, and for all the staff here. So thank you.
Thank you.
And the final speaker who is on the list is Cynthia Thorne Carter.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Cynthia Thorne Carter. I am a business owner here in the county, just celebrated 28 years as a transportation company, so I agree with much of what Mrs. Reed has said. Also, I am a member of both the Chamber and the Calvert Minority Business Alliance, so I support what Kathy is also saying. But I just want to encourage you to give this policy a chance. Please support it. I was the president of the Minority Business Chamber for a number of years, and I know the number 3 years has been thrown out, but we've been trying to get this going for many, many years. And so I'm really happy that we've gotten to this point. And like Kathy said, you know, this may evolve, but let's get started, let's support this, and start moving in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we did have a new participant join online, so I'm going to ask again, if anybody that's joining virtually wishes to participate, please press *9 to raise your hand. And while we give that a chance to get there, there were written comments that were received that will be provided the board and be made part of this record. The board's not being asked to make a decision today because this legislation is not actually effective until October 1. And the legislation required that you follow the process of 9-105 and 9-106 of the local government article, which requires that you leave the record open, or at least not make a decision for 10 days. And nobody has raised their hand.
Did you say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, the action today is just to close the record, and we'll revisit it in 10 days.
Yes.
Yes.
So I make a motion, we close the record?
Second?
A motion and second that we close the record. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We do want to thank, Ms. Maney mentioned all the organizations. It did take us 3 years to get this done, and we couldn't have done that without the support of the Chamber and the Minority Business Group, and I'm not going to name names because I'll forget somebody, but, statistics say that when we spend our money with local vendors, 80% of that money stays in the community. So, for some people out there to say, well, you shouldn't be paying more or not accepting the lowest bid, the payback that we get, more than makes up for the little bit of preference that we're gonna give them. So, and as was mentioned, we're gonna work through this. It's a new process for us, and we'll keep evaluating it every year. But the goal is to help and promote our local businesses and try to keep our money as local as we can. So again, I want to thank all of you because we couldn't have got this done without you. So thank you very much. So that brings us to our fourth public hearing, Department of Public Works.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Jones, Deputy Director for DPW of General Services. Today with me to my right here is Director Bob Branham of Parks and Recs. Today, their subject is purchase and sale agreement of 13220 Dow Road, Solomon, Maryland. Excuse me. Background, the Board of County Commissioners entered into an option agreement on July 11th, 2024 with Cherry Cove Land Development Company Incorporated, the property owners of 13220 Dow Road in Solomons, Maryland. The option affords an opportunity to expand and improve the existing recreational park with mature trails, with nature trails located to the left of the 5.4-acre parcel. Discussion. No impedes to the future use of the property as county government property has been identified during the study period. Because of that, the staff requests the BOCC proceed to purchase this property. Physical impact. The sale price agreed upon was $550,000. Deposit is given when the option agreement was signed of $5,000. Funding is currently available in the account Capital Improvement Plan CIP 000326. The conclusion, the Department of Public Works General Services Division recommends the Board of County Commissioners conduct the public hearing and consider the record before exercising the purchase option by closing the record and authorizing the board president to sign the purchase and sale agreement and settlement document on behalf of the board. I know one of the things that was not mentioned here is actually the purchase of the property. I know we have it in the CIP, and Mr. Brandon can actually, Director Brandon can actually speak to that as far as the payment part back on that.
So we have the ability to not only apply for full reimbursement of the purchase price of the property, but also any fees incurred to acquire that property. So we will do that once we acquire the property, if it pleases the board to purchase. And then we do plan to utilize those roughly 5.5 acres to expand the footprint of Solomon Town Center Park, but create some passive recreation with some natural trails. And we will look for volunteer support as well as staff to develop those trails in-house.
Right, and for those listening, if you're familiar with Dow Road, it's the wooded property between the hotel and the park.
Yes, sir.
So, opportunity came and won't cost us any money. We'll be using open space money, so. Looking for an Eagle Scout, looking for a project. Build some nature trails, so just putting it out there. Any other discussion, motion?
One participant online. If
Oh,
you
sorry.
wish to provide comment, please use *9 to raise your hand. Okay, Okay, Mr. President, nobody signed in here, and nobody raised their hand virtually.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I move that we close the record and authorize the board president to sign the purchase and sale agreement and settlement documents on behalf of the board.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to our final public hearing, Department of Public Works. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioner. Jared Cosgrove, Director of Public Works. And to my right, I have Deputy Director of Enterprise Funds, James Ritter, with me. I'm going to go ahead and read the memo. The subject, of course, is Repeal Resolution 3216 and adoption of amended water and sewer allocation resolution. Background, the Department of Public Works Water and Sewage Division adopted its allocation policy through Resolution 3216, which repealed and replaced the provisions of Resolution 2915 and 0214. The water and sewer allocation policy applies to all connections to the county-owned water and sewage facilities and outlines the procedures for allocating and procuring public water and sewage capacity. Discussion. The Board of County Commissioners intends to revise the annual audit for allocation assignments to include only commercial and to amend the allocation for residential dwelling units. Physical impact, there will be no fiscal impact. Conclusion and recommendation. The Department of Public Works, Water and Sewage Division requests the Board of County Commissioners to conduct a public hearing and, if deemed appropriate, based on the record, close the record and approve and adopt the proposed resolution. Just to give a little bit of background so people understand what the resolution is and what we're changing. So the resolution basically lays out how developers or citizens can reserve or purchase an EDU, which is equivalent dwelling unit or a capital connection fee, so they can tie into our water and sewer system. The funds that we receive from them help basically manage growth or maintain the system so it functions as it should. So there's multiple sections. One talks about how you can reserve the rights. You don't necessarily have to buy them, but you can reserve them for a certain period of time. And if you don't meet certain deadlines throughout the process of the development phase, you basically relinquish those rights and they come back. The next section discusses how you can actually purchase those connection fees. And with that, there's multiple sections, whether you're having a phased project or not. It also talks about how you purchase them, where you pay a third up front and it reserves your rights to tie into the system. Then it describes how you pay the other 2/3 and when you need to pay them by. It also talks about once you purchase the connection fee, even though you only paid a third of the total cost, you'll start receiving a quarterly bill for your base rates for every EDU that you purchase. The other section discusses how the county can conduct an audit to review your water and sewage usage to know whether we allocated the correct capacity to each development or to each home. Within that also, we labeled out basically any dwelling unit, residential dwelling unit, such as a house or an apartment or a townhome, that you, for residential use, will only be allocated one EDU, period. We also put in there that the audit will only be for non-residential uses, such as commercial, industrial, and so forth. So there will not be an audit for residential houses or apartments. I think I covered most of everything that we changed in there.
Correct. It's the majority of the major changes to the resolution.
Correct. We did put some language in there under the section of the audit that gives us ability to audit yearly or however we deem necessary, but at a minimum of 1 year. I believe it talks about the audits usually conducted in the first quarter of each fiscal year. So we put language in there that says the FY 24 or 25 audit, which we would conduct now in the first quarter, if anybody needs additional allocations, they would be paying it based on the FY 24 rates, because as everybody knows, we increased the fees July 1, but we want to make available the rates from the previous year for anybody that needs additional allocations. I think I covered most everything. Did I miss anything?
No.
Any questions?
Bulk of it.
So anybody out there listening that doesn't participate in the water sewer system, this is all gibberish, but
Correct.
if you participate in the system, you understand exactly what's going on, I hope. So, any questions?
Yeah, I have one. How do you approach long-term planning for water and sewer infrastructure improvements?
So, do you want to take that?
So we have a 10-year projection of capital improvement program. So we'll look at where we may see growth at or what areas we need to improve or rehab some of our assets. So we'll project that out and plan based on the year of the life that we think we'll need to replace the asset or rehab it, and then bring that back into our plan to project out what those costs may be year after year.
Didn't you just do a countywide assessment?
The countywide assessment, describe that.
So when you say countywide, are you talking about as far as EDO allocation or assessing our water and sewer infrastructure?
That part.
Okay. So we've pretty much gone through and looked through our entire infrastructure system, and we currently have, I guess you could call it like a maintenance plan in place, where we're going around and we're using our camera vehicle so we can basically put into our systems and inspect the pipes throughout the system to see what kind of, whether there's any root intrusion, whether the lines need to be replaced, what kind of shape they're in. So we're implementing, going in and lining a bunch of our pipes. We've done a bunch of work here in Prince Frederick over the past 6 months. So that's part of it. We've done some looking at our force main, especially in the Solomons area, because the gas builds up in the line and sometimes eats away at the top of the older pipes. So we've used a new technology where they call them smart balls. We basically put them in there, pump it through the system, and they gather the data, almost like a 3D imagery of the pipe itself inside, to give us a breakdown of what the wall thickness is and what the pipe looks like. So there's different things like that we've done over the years to look into our system.
We're also categorizing the age of the infrastructure based on the time of installation to target areas where we may need to look at some of those predictive technologies to determine what course of action we may need to take for renewal or replacement, to then schedule that out.
And if you upgrade a plant, how do you determine the capacity of that plant?
So look at a 30-year projection of what growth may be needed for that facility. So any development may be coming in coordination with planning and zoning to look at what growth they think there may be over that 30-year time period. And then we'll feed that in to the design of the facility, looking at what the flows might be at that 30-year time.
Right, because recently we talked about the Prince Frederick plant, and it wasn't the plant capacity, it was the capacity to dispose of the gray water that was the issue, if I
Correct.
remember correctly.
Correct. Because we're limited on when we can dispose of our gray water because of time of year, more or less, because we do surface application, whether it be drip fields, whether it be spray irrigation or rapid infiltration basins like we do in Solomons. But we're limited by permits from MDE when we can dispose of that water. You know, we can put more out in the summertime because we have growth to uptake the nutrients than we can in the wintertime, because, you know, it's usually wetter in the wintertime and, you know, there's not leaves on trees sucking up as much of the water out of the ground.
You've gotten a little off track of the public hearing.
While you're asking questions, though, where are capacities at now?
James, you remember the numbers off the top of your head?
I do not. We can share that with
Yeah.
you. We're below 60% at all the facilities.
Correct.
All right. So we have time.
So there isn't
on
a
those.
treatment plant in the county that's above 60%,
No, sir.
Okay.
even for disposal of gray
Correct.
water.
Yeah.
And JR, what about the new billing that's coming out? You want
So
to touch on that?
we're currently working with our technology service to develop the new billing software. We're projected to have it where it'll go live towards the end of October, middle of November. We're moving into working out our testing phase now. They're probably, I don't know, 75%, if I remember right, where we're at as far as development goes. It's taking time. There's a lot of data cleanup. There's a lot of coordination between our department, our consultant, and TS to get it functioning. But I think we're on the right track. We've reamped what the bill is going to look like. I think everybody will be pleased with it. Get a little more information on the bill itself. It's got some spots for information to notify customers. Within this process, we've also been reaching out to all our water and sewer customers and trying to get additional contact information, because we either had, most of the time we had phone numbers or addresses. We had very few emails, so it makes it hard to contact our customers when there's an issue. So we've been reaching out to them. We're probably, 5,600 customers, and we're probably around 4,000 emails, give or take.
So you contact them in general through emails?
We're trying to.
Do we put public notices out if there's a disruption to service or
Yeah,
issues?
yes.
Yeah, we'll send out an Everbridge notification, we'll post on social media, and depending on how large it is, we'll also run advertisements in papers as well as on the county website.
And that's part of the reason for the email, because not everybody signed up for the Everbridge notice, because you have to sign up for it. So not everybody in the system might get that, so it would help if we have emails and trying to get them, I guess, I don't know if educated is more the right word, but just get them educated on the options they have to get notified.
How do you all stay educated in your jobs? How do you make sure your technicians have what they need to do their jobs?
So most of our staff, we're required by the state of Maryland to maintain licenses, and then part of that license requirement, we have to maintain continual education credits. So that credit requirement is a triennial driver based on recertification. So one, through that training requirement, two, through industry periodicals, and as well as through conferences that we're able to attend to see kind of what the industry as a whole is, how it's evolving, and where new technology is moving.
Thank you.
So now back to the public hearing. Do we have any speakers?
No one has signed up in person. There is still one participant virtually. If you wish to speak at this public hearing, please press star 9 to raise your hand. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Hanson.
Yes.
Mark Willis, County Administrator. I wanted to add one part to Commissioner Grasso's question about how do you project the needs of the system, basically. So I do want to give a bit of a shout out to Water and Sewer. A few years ago, what they did was a countywide assessment of areas that have the potential to fail. So you can't think about that when they fail. So what they've done is they've identified them from north to south. They know what the necessary capacities are of each of those areas. We could say Chesapeake Ranch Estates, or we could say Seagull Beach area. We could say Chesapeake Heights, for example. They've got in their study the potential needs of all of those sites. Now, the potential cost to make that happen in the future is a different topic, but nothing, I don't think, is going to pop out and surprise them as far as what may need infrastructure support in the future. They may need to build that infrastructure, but that's why we stay in touch with those communities. So they're on top of that as well.
Motion?
Mr. President, I move that we close the record and approve and adopt the staff recommended resolution.
Second.
A motion and a second that we close the record, approve and adopt the staff recommended resolution. Any discussion on that motion?
None.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that concludes public hearings for today. Next item on the agenda is consent. There are 6 items under consent today. Department of Public Works, Waterman's Wharf Slip Agreement. Item 2, Department of Public Works, Waterman's Wharf Transient Slip Agreement. Item 3, Department of Parks and Recreation, Calvert County Youth Recreational Opportunities Fund Report for fiscal year 2023 and fiscal year 2024. Item 4, Department of Public Works Budget Amendment for the Capital Improvement Plan, countywide right-of-way acquisitions. Item 5, Office of the County Administrator Budget Amendment for the Capital Improvement Plan for Cove Point Lighthouse Air Conditioning Unit Replacement. Item 6, Department of Finance and Budget Amendment for the American Rescue Plan Act Stormwater Management at Halloween Point Park. Are there any objections to those items under consent today?
None.
I have none, Mr. President. I move that we adopt and approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that we adopt those items under consent today. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is new business. Item 1, Department of Planning and Zoning, Purchase and Retirement Fund and Transfer of Development Rights Reserved for fiscal year 2025. Mr. County Attorney, I have to disclose that I have conflict because I own TDRs.
My family does as well, sir.
Mr. County Attorney, my family does also. Thank you.
Thank you. Pursuant to 41-13A2, all persons disqualified from participating under this subsection shall disclose the nature and circumstances of the conflict and may participate in the matter or act if the disqualification leaves a body with less than a quorum capable of acting within a reasonable time. This would presumably, this conflict would continue until the next election, possibly after. So we're recommending that the board continue to sit, and thank you for disclosing your conflicts as required by the ethics ordinance.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mary Beth Cook, Director of Planning and Zoning. With me is Jennifer David, our Ag Planner 2, and she is going to read the memo. We're here to set the price for TDRs for the upcoming year for the purchase and retirement and also the reserve fund.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
So the background of this agenda item is that the Board of County Commissioners established the Purchase and Retirement, known as PAR Fund, in 1992 to purchase, retire, and permanently remove transferable development rights from the development rights market, thereby protecting additional farmland acres from development. The TDR Reserve is a county-managed program that facilitates TDR sales between farmers and developers and acts as a revolving fund. Discussion. There is $10,480,957 available for PAR fund purchases and $603,125 available for the TDR Reserve in the budget for the fiscal year 2025. In recent years, PAR has been funded by the combination of a small portion of the state agricultural transfer tax dedicated to agricultural preservation and contributions from the county's general fund. Since 2021, the Agricultural Land Preservation Fund has received $1.70 of each $5 collected in recordation taxes to directly support land preservation in Calvert County. However, the FY 2024 land preservation budget did not include those funds. On December 12, 2023, Budget Amendment 2024-00156 was adopted by the Board of County Commissioners, restoring funding from the recordation tax to the Land Preservation Fund. The PAR funding for fiscal year 2025 includes $10,000 in intergovernmental revenue, which is generated by the state agricultural transfer tax. Prior year agricultural land preservation fund balances of approximately $8,184,986 and $2,900,000 in recordation taxes allocated from the general fund to make the budget whole and correct the fund balance as a result of the fiscal year 2024 budget adjustment. The TDR reserve funding comes solely from the prior year's balance in the revolving fund. The Agricultural Preservation Advisory Board recommends a purchase price of $5,800 per TDR for the FY25 PAR cycle and the TDR reserve. The Agricultural Preservation Advisory Board assessed TDR and land values when establishing the recommended price. There is a need to fairly compensate participants for the value of the land they have protected while seeking to reach as many applicants as possible and utilize the available funding to its maximum potential. Fiscal impact. A maximum impact of $11,804,082 is available in the fiscal year 2025 budget. Conclusion recommendation. Staff recommends the BOCC review and consider the Agricultural Preservation Advisory Board's recommended purchase price for both programs and direct staff to open the PAR cycle to receive applications and continue with the TDR reserve program. I'm happy to take any questions.
Mr. President, I'd like to jump in here.
Sure.
I've been contemplating this a long time, a 10-year history of both sides of the fence of this. So I want to ask a couple questions of you, and then I want to ask where I'm going. So as we discussed earlier, we can do a separate PAR price and TDR price, is that correct?
Yes, you would be setting separate prices for the PAR fund and for the reserve fund.
And the PAR really hasn't been that successful, is that fair to say?
I would say that the PAR has been very successful over its lifetime.
But I mean here of recent.
So I did bring some numbers back.
Okay.
So the first sale started in 1993, and the last sale last year was for 29 TDRs. The year before was 196.5 TDRs. Over the course of its lifetime, I'm looking at some numbers. And prior to the last 2 years, the lowest was 47, and the highest was 303 TDRs in any given year. So, and most of them are about 100.
To make it kind of current, say the last 3 years, what would the last 3 years be?
Let's go from, so the last three would be 2022 was 146, 2023 was 196.5, and last year was the 29 we discussed previously.
And where I'm going, like, on that point is, so for the public, can you explain PAR? Because the acronym, and, well, can you explain to what that does?
So how the program is that there we have agricultural preservation districts. That is our local agricultural program. There are multiple agricultural preservation programs, both state and local programs, but the one we're specifically talking about today is the local program. When that program began in the early 80s, and currently the property owners that place their land in that program, the compensation mechanism by which they are paid for reducing the ultimate density of that property and limiting its use to agricultural and forestry purposes, what they're compensated with is the certification of their TDRs.
So if I'm gonna put it in English, so Reader's Digest version, I have a 100-acre farm. Instead of turning it into 90 houses, we will take and buy those developmental rights and retire them so that we preserve that farm. That's correct, right?
It is correct if that landowner chooses to sell all of their land, all of their.
But I mean,
we're talking about retiring the
in
development
essence,
rights.
that's the intention.
That is the
And
intention.
those are gone forever, so, and,
If they sell to par.
yes,
If they
I'm just
sell their
talking part,
TDR.
no, just
Gotcha.
keep it right
Yep.
there for a second.
Yep.
So just on the par, we're buying it, and what that does, because, I've been, like I say, as you learn through the process, I would say, well, why would government do this? Why would you take taxpayer dollars? Because once you start developing that, there's this misnomer that taxes actually pay for all these services. They pay a portion. But as we've discussed in other budgets, just one child is $8,000 county contribution, and that's going up every year. We're gonna blink, it's gonna be 9,000, 10,000. So even though as painful as these tax bills are, and trust me, I feel it, if your tax bill is $6,000 or $7,000 and you have 2 kids in school, you know what I mean? So, and we've had many, many discussions on service and also where I'm going with this PAR piece is, I don't know how the agricultural community feels about this, but to me, I don't think we're putting enough incentive in there to start retiring some of these off, because even at 100 and some odd, how many, if an acre qualifies as how many TDRs?
Oh, 1 TDR per acre as a general rule. There's a small computation involved, but as a general rule, 1
So if you
TDR
said
per
you did,
acre.
what, 29 last year? That's 29 acres taken off the books, and how many TDRs are still out there potentially? Give some perspective.
There are 6,000 TDRs that can be either sold from the APD, approximately 6,000 TDRs that can be sold from the APDs themselves or allocated to a development project.
And not saying this is an exact science, so potentially at 1 acre a house could be 6,000 homes, give or take. Globally.
So you actually need 5 TDRs to build a single-family house.
dwelling.
Okay, so how many homes could be potentially built out of that then? Like 1,200?
Something like that.
1,200 homes?
Approximately.
And obviously some frustration, and where I'm going with this, to me, it's money well spent to get these off the market, because the mantra is quality of life here. That's what we have talked about in preserving our rural character. So the TDRs, I understand, can be sold or resale, they're a commodity.
Yes.
You know, I wanna build a house, it's the cost of doing business. If the TDR costs 10,000, well, that's what it's gonna cost me, whatever. But this PAR, that's done and over with. And so I know we've inched this up little by little, but just in my personal opinion, I don't think we're putting enough incentive on this PAR program. I understand the TDR can fluctuate with the market, But to me, this par, if we've got somebody that's a little on the fence, because, and as we've seen in younger generations, they sell. There's pieces of property that have sat around this county for hundreds of years, and we appreciate them as citizens. We drive by them, we look at them. Next generation comes in, they want that money. So I personally, my 20%, I'd like to see us retire more of these properties to preserve our way of life. And I don't know what the feeling of the rest of the board is, but I see what's at 5,800. I don't think that's gonna get it done. I think a higher number has to be in there, and I don't know I don't know if we have to go out back to those communities and talk to them. I don't know if we have that sense here, but I just don't think 58 is gonna move the needle.
No, the process is they just recommend to us.
So,
I see your point, now that you've explained it.
you just take any given road, they're single lane roads. I don't know of a place in Calvert County that if a tree falls across the road, that there's just an easy way right around it. It's a reroute to miles around. You take the Ranch Club. My gosh, you drop something on Catalina, you kill the whole place. Okay? So, and I beat this horse constantly where we just don't have the infrastructure for all this building. And there's no financial gain. People try to sell you, oh, look at the money it brings in. That's not necessarily true. A lot of times it's debt. And there's never talk of what the emergency services or schools or any of that stuff. So for me, I would like to increase that price if we believe we can get some people to participate in this program, and preserve more of this county. Just my 20%.
So Mary Beth, on pertaining to Commissioner Hart's dialogue, can you explain to us how they arrived at the $5,800 in relation to what an acre's worth and how they achieved that $5,800?
I can. I brought back some more materials, so the place we start is the Ag Census. That's the basis for which we start. So the Ag Census is conducted every 5 years by the United States Department of Agriculture. Within that, the last time it was done, so it was done in 2017, and the data was collected in 2022, was the last time it was collected. That report was issued this year in 2024, last spring. So I took that to the board, and it breaks down the value of farms, land and farms, value of land and buildings, both for the entire state, for all 50 states in the union, as well as down to the county level. So within the county, going to that report, the estimated market value of land and buildings, okay, so land and buildings, not the land alone, but land and buildings in Calvert County in average per acre in 2017 was $10,257.
And we're offering 58.
We're offering 58,
See, I wouldn't sell either.
but you still retain your land.
Yeah, but
And
how
the
much would I
buildings.
make if I sold it to put a house on it? I mean, how much would that guy pay me for that piece of property?
I don't know. There's a
Right.
lot invested. It's hard to
Probably
know.
more than $5,800 in profit, I would bet.
The average cost per acre in 2022, according to the data they collected, was $11,544. Again, price of land and buildings, again an average for Calvert County.
What was the price when you said we hit, what, 300 one year?
It was actually less. I was curious about that.
Okay.
So when we hit so there is no direct correlation between the price. There's market valuations, there's fluctuations, there's family
See, that's crazy to me, because
considerations.
that's how, with me, that's what it's all driven. I mean, as a business,
They only
There are
sell when they
so
need
many
money.
considerations for each individual family
They
that
only
I
sell
would
when they need
not
money.
say that is, you could put it up, but you still may not get what you think you're gonna get.
I know, and I've been trying to throw, straws at how do we make this program really work?
So in 2016, the par price was $3,750, and we sold 303 TDRs.
Wow, it's crazy. I would have never thought that. Never. I would have,
between the years 2003,
And this is par numbers, not TDRs, just par numbers.
Just par.
just
Okay,
par numbers,
gotcha.
just par numbers. There's a graph, I'm happy to share this
I trust
with
you.
you. There's a big graph. So where was I going with that?
What was the
2000
price the prior year?
The prior year, so the prior year to prior to
15?
2022, so of course, we were in a pandemic. So during that time, there was actually a combined, it was opened and then it was reopened, so you can't, it's gonna sound odd because it's a compilation of actual several cycles closely put together, more so than usual due to the pandemic. But in 2019 to 2021, the par price was $4,000, and overall, so it's 2019,
One year it was
3 years.
2,500 or something like that.
539 TDRs were sold essentially over a 3-year period.
What year was the price 2,500? 2,600, something like that.
1999,
2018.
2017, it was 3,750. 2011 was the last time it was really high. Between 2005 and 2011, it was $8,000 to $9,000.
How did it do during those years?
9,000, they sold 75. The first year it was 9,000, they sold 75 TDRs.
It doesn't make any sense.
In
No.
2011, when it
And
was
I
8,000.
understand because, and I applaud them. I do. I truly applaud them because hey, it's my property and I want to hold it, reserve it, and I love that. And my fear, and you'll hear me say I don't like to live in fear, because I don't, but I have watched properties, especially the last few years, man, I call them Gen 3. You know, your grandfather, he built it, he runs it, and then his son had to work it with him, blah, 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 but by the time grandson gets here, give me my money. And he's entitled to it. It's his money, it's his family money. But I wonder if granddad would be sitting around going, hey, you know, spend that so quick. And sometimes it's just nice to leave it like it is, you know. And if we can make it worth it for them to leave it like it is, I'm all about it.
So Mike, in my perspective, it's not money driven. It's when you need money. It's when you're settling a state.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Otherwise, I haven't sold a TDR because I don't want to limit my options because I have children and I have grandchildren. And when you start selling your TDRs, you've taken away those abilities. So it's not all about money. It's about
And you understand better
Circumstances.
than I do. That's where I'm trying to learn here with, you know,
And
because you know
Commissioner
where I'm
Hance
going.
makes,
You know what I would love to preserve these farms forever.
and Commissioner Hance makes a very good point, because I do hear that a lot. I hear a couple things a lot. One is, you know, I want more money. I'd like to negotiate for more money, but the program's not set up that way. The other thing I hear is, I'm holding all my cards because I want all my options. I know of several large parcels of land that the farmers, because once they sell that first TDR, they are locked into that program in perpetuity. And it severely limits how much they can develop the property, but not just for someone like a neighborhood developer, an apartment complex developer. It also limits their use and what they can do with the property. And so, a lot of folks balk at that. They have concerns, and they're looking at the future. And
if you jumped it to $9,000, you'd get a little bit more participation, but not what you think.
yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the
That's my
current,
question.
So getting back to your original question, we started with that base. We looked at the MALF program, which is the state program, and looked at what they were paying. We looked at the rural legacy program and what their fair market values are for what their easements are paying on a per acre basis. They're different. They don't pay TDRs piecemeal. They give a lump sum price for the easement. You get it up front, and then you never get any more. So we looked at those prices, and then what the board really talked about this year was inflation. And we looked at the cost of inflation. And there isn't really a good number for agriculture, but we did find, I did find for them some inflation numbers for housing itself, and it went up 5.4%.
Is anything
And so they basically added about 5% to what they
so what was the
recommended their
price? What's the current price now? for this?
5,500,
55, okay.
and they're recommending it go up to 5,800.
So has anything been discussed? I know over time I've heard, you know, I have 3 children, but I can only put 2 houses on there. Has anything been discussed, as long as it's a working farm or pretty much preserved farm, to where they can build homes for their children type thing a little bit more, if maybe it stays as a working farm? I mean, has there been any outside the box thinking to, what can we do to keep this family on this piece of property to where there's not this tendency one day to sell out to some builder?
So the subdivision of the properties that are in APDs and locked into APDs, that is going to be determined by acreage and the density of the APD rules and regulations. Part of the whole foundation of the program is that you are ultimately reducing build-out and ultimately reducing density of the property. So as much as we might want to,
So Commissioner Kelly told me a long time ago, Commissioner Hart, when I was arguing that my children and grandchildren should be able to build on that farm, regardless.
That's what I would think.
And Commissioner Kelly told me, and she was absolutely right, buddy, you could end up with 50 houses on your farm. And if you preserve it and you just open the door for families, you could end up with more homes than the density would have allowed in the first place.
Yes.
And then, what happens when I give my child a lot and he gets a divorce and the house goes on the market for sale? Then it's not a family conveyance anymore.
That's true too.
It just, you end up, I've talked to farmers before, who lost their whole farms because their kids kept getting divorced and they lost their lot, so.
Prenup.
I'm not, that's why my farm's not in preservation. I want my kids to have the ability to build and, you know.
Yeah, I'm just trying to somehow,
I know, I
to
understand the
put an incentive to
heartstrings.
the family to stay there and work, because, I mean, I know being small business, I've been down 20 straight months. And that's everyone I talk to. I'm not alone in that. So I'm sure the farming community is really taking a beating this year, with no rain especially, and the price of goods and everything else. It's been tough economically for small business. Is there some mechanisms to where they can have relief, still retain the farm, and not mortgage their kids' future, or, you know, or limit their options, I should say?
But it's a fine line between them selling their development rights away and then giving it back to them, and ending up having more density than you would have
So that's a good point.
before you
Yes.
put it into preservation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She was right.
Yeah.
yeah.
I hate
And that's
to
the way it
admit
was
It's
originally
a,
set
it's a
up.
very tough subject. I mean, it's taken me years to get even a little bit of understanding that I have now, because it changes so much, and the intent is pure. You know, and then we've seen people buy properties, liquidate all the TDRs off of them and sell them. I mean, we've seen the whole gambit.
And even if, just trying to get the discussion moving, even if you provided a bonus for par over bank, I'm not sure it'd make a difference, because it's the rules of who can get in those two different programs. It's the timing of when they're buying those TDRs, because par is only open for a short period of time, but the bank is open.
It's open, and we resell them at the same price, so it's rolling. It doesn't
Yeah,
close.
So the bank is always open.
Yes.
So par is open now, I don't need money today. 6 months from now, I need some money. And
So
the only
there-
thing I can sell to is the bank. So it doesn't matter what the incentive is. I'm trying to help you here. I hope.
Yeah, because you know where I'm trying to go.
I know where you're trying to go, and I'm with you, but.
Yeah.
I don't want to
just-
drag it on too much, but I will say the Ag Board has broached consideration of trying to, of looking at when the new rules come out, having the possibility of anyone who owns TDRs be able to sell to par, which would open up more retirement relative to the bank. So
And if
there's pros and there's cons to doing that.
If the bank is open all the time, why isn't par open all the time?
Yeah, that was my next question.
Processing.
We
ha-
process the bank ones.
But it's, she receives the application, she has to analyze them, see how many, I mean, if we received more than we had money for, and that, you know, that happened for years.
I think
so
we
they
got plenty
had
of
to-
money.
Yeah, I still wasn't.
Now we do,
Yeah.
now we do.
But you won't
Historically, we haven't.
We're just talking about today, because this board is gonna change in 2
Sure.
years, and the board might go a completely different direction.
So one of the things to consider is, and I've been trying to research this, is, you know, the legal foundation for the PAR program, to find the actual legal documentation that set the program up, and see what possibilities are out there, because the board has also inquired about such a thing. But process would be challenging. My personal opinion is there's, might be ways to have it open longer, but at some point, the way it is set up now, my understanding is that all the funds, that the funds for the year have to be expended in that fiscal year. And that's what causes the problem, because it's not a rolling fund. We have a certain amount of funding set up, and it goes in, and it goes out, and it goes in, and it goes out. With
Is
PAR,
that county law or state law?
that would be, it's a county program, so it would be a county.
It's authorized by state law.
But does it give us the latitude that if they have an application in, say, in '24, but by the time we can get to it, it's '25, that we still pay out because it's basically was an application of '24? I mean, as long as we secure funds?
That level of detail is probably just defined in our local ordinances, and we can work with planning and zoning to come up with
I think that's a
options.
discussion for another day, but again,
And I'm
it's
good with that,
process.
and that's what I said, maybe you have to come and get some of that back, but I mean, I'm with President Hance, if the bank's open 24 hours a day, then to me, and I don't know what you guys do, so to me, on just the surface, I would think, why wouldn't PAR be?
But my understanding is all the funds, the funds for that sign-up period have to be expended by the end of the fiscal year, and that's why we structure the sign-up periods.
And I
And
get
the time
that.
it takes to do all the title work and all the work that's why it's structured that way.
But don't you have to do that for the bank ones?
Yes, we do. We do
So
have
I'm
to
just
do that for
struggling
the
to see
bank.
the difference in the process.
Yeah, I'd like us to explore that avenue, because as to President Hance's point, all of a sudden an emergency comes up and that's the only avenue you have, well, now you're stuck putting it to the bank.
And the one thing I would bear in mind, I'll throw it out, something to chew on for later, but one of the things that the rules and regulations does with the prioritization, we actually rank all the applications. This is probably a throwback from the time when there was not as much money available, but part of the process, which I've pointed out to the board, is that the ranking process will, there's bonus points given for properties that have never participated and therefore have not locked in their preservation. And so I would be hesitant to tweak it in such a way in that we don't offer that bonus, that we don't encourage folks to be first-time sellers of TDRs. And so however that ends up being structured, if that's something we pursue, that would be something that you would want to think about.
But it doesn't apply when you have the amount of resources we have today. That's only when you have limited resources.
So is that 11804 number, is that tied into strictly PAR and TDRs, or could that be used to purchase land?
Now, that could be restructured. That's just what we have for PAR that's available for use for land preservation funding. It could be used to purchase property.
Okay.
Some of that was with the budget adjustment, some of the lumping is what happened there.
So is that where the loan program comes out of that as well?
Which loan program?
The loan program, like if we're loaning to a trust that's gonna buy land and they need money, is that where that comes out of, is that?
So, there was the loan that went from the land preservation budget to the open space revolving fund. Yes, that, I don't believe that's included. We can get back to you on that.
Okay,
I believe that's a separate account.
okay. Do you know how much is in there?
I know the loan was made for 1.3 million. I don't know what the current balance, or if it was ever loaned out, or if it was ever repaid.
Okay.
I don't think that actually.
I think they're
loan was
working on it.
made. Well, they've done the deal now.
Today?
They're settling
Yeah,
today,
yep.
so they won't need it.
Any other questions?
We digress. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I move that we direct staff to open the PAR cycle to receive applications and continue with the TDR reserve program.
Second?
Don't we need a price?
We need a price,
Yeah,
yes.
Oh, yeah.
You did the easy part.
Do you need a what?
A price.
for the
We need you to
TDR.
state the price.
Oh, the
Price.
price, oh my goodness.
Well, they're
Okay.
suggested in here, there was, what, 58? Is that what
58,
I read?
yes. 5,800.
I'm good with that.
I mean, I got educated, so I looked at it, and so, if that's what they say, then I guess that's what they say.
Are we all good with 58?
I'm good with whatever you two say, because
Okay.
I'm not gonna participate.
It was put there for inflationary reasons.
I would go higher if we thought there was some movement. But you guys are saying the data doesn't say that. I mean, to me, from 55 to 58 is nothing. It's a trip to McDonald's. I mean, what's $300? I mean,
Tank of gas.
The price you set is at the pleasure of the board, from what I understand.
mean,
Yes.
I think staff would recommend you leave the price the same, but
I
that's,
mean-
that's
up
only,
to the board.
but it's entirely up to you.
I mean, if it wants $7,000, would that move the needle?
No. Not from what they're saying.
I
It's
mean-
hard
We
to
can't
know.
predict.
Historically,
We
it
cannot.
does not prove that.
Well, I don't know 3% even keeps up with I mean, 300 even keeps up with inflation. And it was 55, correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying,
So, one more thing going along with what Commissioner Hart's been talking about. So, you've had some calls on opening up APDs. Those APDs, those phone calls that you're getting, do you think those are people that would want to sell right away? Is that why
Yes.
they want to open up that APD?
Yeah, I know
s-
two of them.
Yes, two, a couple that I know of would definitely, but there's about a half dozen families I hear from that call back inquiring if there's any new news.
Two I know with big tracks, and they would sell tomorrow.
why wouldn't we want to do that?
Well, because we have a legal issue, we have to get over before we can open up APDs.
Is that something we can solve internally, or has it got to go to Annapolis?
It's actually coming up on its second anniversary. We're waiting for an opinion.
Gosh,
So, we've been waiting on an opinion for 2 years?
Yes.
In October, it'll be 2 years.
how much?
And that's stopping us from opening up the APD?
It's,
Do you want to do 6,000 even? Or stay with the 58?
it's a sticky wicket. It's not been recommended that you address some of the issues while the case is pending. Some of the issues that staff would like to have addressed.
What is the negative to our raising it to $6,000 as opposed to $5,800? Is there a negative?
For that little amount, I do not believe so. The only cautionary tale is if you were to really go higher, then you're using public funds to, based on the USDA data, basically pay for the price of the land and you're paying the whole thing, not the differential between what it's worth as a preserved property versus what it's worth per acre as a property that's not preserved.
We used to do that at Mount all the time.
But for that little amount, I would hazard to say I don't see much difference.
Okay. I move that we direct staff to open the PAR cycle to receive applications and continue with the TDR reserve program at $6,000 per TDR.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion?
The only thing I'll say is please, next time you talk to those folks, if they believe that, moving the needle I truly believe it's money well spent to preserve those farms. So if there's any, I'm open for that. I mean, so like I say,
They know
I
that.
thought I had you
They
on the
know
ropes.
that.
I thought I had a line of question. I thought I had you. And then when you came back with that number, I'm like, well, okay, thought I had you.
We'll see what this year brings.
Yes, we'll see what this year brings. But as I said, the program's maturing. There's less and less TDRs every year to be sold.
Yeah, every year I'm hoping that program, the money just sits there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, ladies.
Thank
you.
I think we need this.
Next item on the agenda is Department of Planning and Zoning.
Again, Mary Beth Cook, Director of Planning and Zoning. With me is Jen David. We received an application request to waive TDRs for an affordable housing project, and Jen's going to read the memo.
Okay. So the background for this agenda item is that the Osprey Property Company 2 LLC is the applicant for the detailed site development plan of Calvert Hills Phase 2, which is under application SPR 143065, currently under review within the Department of Planning and Zoning. The plan calls for the construction of an extension to Calvert Hills Road and a new multifamily 35-unit affordable housing project located adjacent to the existing Calvert Hills 1 development within the Prince Frederick Town Center. Discussion. Text amendment case number 2102 was adopted by the Board of County Commissioners effective May 9th, 2022, and increased the number of transferable development rights required for each multifamily unit from 1 TDR per unit to 1, 2, or 3 TDRs per unit based on the number of bedrooms. Applications that had been submitted prior to May 9th, 2022, and matured to concept site plan or preliminary subdivision approval within 12 months of the effective date of the ordinance are grandfathered under the regulation. Calvert Hills Phase 2 concept site plan was submitted on October 26, 2022, and received concept site plan approval during the June 21st, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. Under this amendment, Osprey would be required to purchase 29 TDRs as opposed to 35 under the previous code for the development. Per Section 3, E-2-A of the Prince Frederick Town Center zoning ordinance, applications with bona fide affordable housing projects may apply to the Board of County Commissioners for a waiver of the requirement to purchase TDRs. The Board of County Commissioners may approve the application in whole or in part, provided that no more than 30% of the existing housing stock within the town center meets the state definition of affordable housing. Osprey has submitted a request to partially waive the TDR requirement and to be subject to the grandfathered requirements of 1 TDR per multifamily unit, and has provided supporting documentation confirming its status as an affordable housing community from the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. Planning and Zoning has completed an analysis of the current affordable housing stock in Prince Frederick and has determined the eligibility of Osprey to apply for the waiver under this section. Using 2020 census data and an accounting of dwelling units completed in the Prince Frederick Town Center since that time, the proportion of state-defined affordable housing stock is currently 27.1%. Fiscal impact. The cost of purchasing the additional 34 TDRs under the current TDR reserve program price would be approximately $187,000. Conclusion and recommendation. Department of Planning and Zoning requests the Board of County Commissioners consider the request to grant the waiver of 34 TDRs as permitted under Section 3-E-2-A of the Prince Frederick Town Center zoning ordinance.
So you say affordable housing. What is that?
I believe Jen Moreland was going to join us.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jennifer.
So for the purpose of simplification, affordable housing, by and large, is easy to us assess by the type of funding that goes towards a development. Okay, because largely there's lots of ways to describe affordable housing.
But to this project,
But
when it says
to
this is an
projects
affordable
in
housing
Calvert
project.
County,
No,
when we're
this
looking at
project.
80% AMI and below is what the state looks at for low-income housing tax credits, which this program applied for through the state. And so that's looking at 80% AMI, area median income and below. So I have some figures, and I can kind of give you a sense of what that might look like.
But I mean, this project, I mean, if I'm watching on TV, are they buying these? Are they renting these? I mean, what?
They're
what-
rentals,
Right,
and
so-
there's wait lists for these programs when they are developed, for these
So who
developments.
qualifies?
So you would have to be, okay, so I'm gonna give you like a breakdown, and this is based on like April 2024 figures for low-income housing tax credits. If you're a family of 4, and you're at like, so for these, there are 60% AMI and below, because that's what they applied for in their plan with the state
So
of
what is
Maryland.
AMI? I'm
Area
not
median
watching.
income level.
I'm sorry?
Area median income
Okay.
level. So 60% of the area median income level in your 4-person household, that's $92,820 that you bring in annually in income. And your rental limit, like, so they're restricted rents, so you can't go above a certain amount.
And this is
So-
not a voucher program. I am working,
Yeah,
but my
no.
family makes
Yep.
less than $92,000.
Yep,
Okay.
and then a 4-person at, let's say, 60% AMI, they could not rent it more than 2,413, so they're capped at a certain level. Now, we're part of the Washington DC area rental, limits. And so that includes Calvert, Charles, Frederick, Montgomery, and Prince George's County. So we're lumped together with Washington DC area and those 5 counties. I say that because if you go to Wacomico County, that's gonna look a lot different what those rental limits are. So ours are higher than most of the surrounding counties throughout
And
Maryland.
are these Calvert County first? Like when we had Southern Pines down there, like it was Calvert County, you had to be a Calvert County resident first on the list
No, I
before it
mean,
went out?
no, these are not, they're they're not, they don't have those kind of limitations on
Because this is
them.
taxpayer dollar we're talking about.
This is
so-
not, yeah, but this is not a,
No, I mean, as
not-
far as the TDR waiver, I mean, that's money that would come in,
Right.
so it's Calvert County money, so why wouldn't we have a Calvert County first on this list?
So this is done by an outside developer. It's not the housing authority or a nonprofit that's developing this. When you work with nonprofit developers, they're, they may have that intent, but their aim is to fill the units.
And so I just wanted to clarify, Phase 1 was built without requesting this waiver, and they had every intention of building Phase 2 without asking for this waiver, but they got caught up in the change in the regulations, where we went from 1 TDR for apartments to it being based on bedrooms. So really, they're only asking for the differential between what they would have paid to what the regulation changed to. So it isn't a full-on, they want to build this project without paying TDRs or purchasing TDRs.
So Director Moreland, it says a family of 4. Does that say that it has to be at least 3 bedrooms, or can it be 2 bedrooms?
I think they have a mix of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units that they're planning.
And it caps the rent they can charge? There's
And it's
no
based on,
subsidy from the government?
Exactly. It caps the rent that they can charge. Now.
There is no government subsidy on them?
No, it's not like so it's not, I think what you're talking about is like Section 8 vouchers. You can move Section 8 vouchers anywhere. So it's not, this is not public housing. This is low-income housing tax credits that caps the level of rent that you can charge somebody.
See, I'm all about a hand up, you know that, you know my philosophy on that, and, if we've got Calvert County family, and this helps them get into a place, I'm all about it, that's why I'm questioning, I wanna make sure that we're just not telling, hey, some other place in the state, hey, well, come on down here, and I'm giving them Calvert County tax dollars.
Well, I mean, I will tell you what's interesting about this, because most of we've referred lots of Calvert County residents to Calvert Hills and tried to assist, our office has tried to assist them in understanding the process and how to get in there. So we get frequent calls about how affordable housing is available in Calvert County. What's interesting about this program is that it kind of overlaps with workforce housing because we're part of those elevated rents, but when you look at the actual workforce and what they need, the workforce in Calvert County needs between 890 and 1,913. That's the when you're looking at the average workforce housing wages.
And what are these units gonna cost somebody?
So the range for these, what we've seen so far, and this is actually based on 2021, so it'll probably be slightly more, but it was between 1,100 to 1,500 in that range.
And that's for a family of 4?
So that's the middle of your workforce housing.
That's for a family of
income
4,
range.
and it can't, and the total household income cannot exceed 92,000.
Right, and that would be specific to that, that family size.
But these
So-
aren't tax dollars.
Well, the TDR would be income.
No, but they'll be buying them from private individuals.
Oh, it's,
Correct.
oh,
So it's
Yeah.
so
really,
it's not coming, okay.
We
so-
just
it's not
need
tax money.
to pick a price to
Right.
set,
Oh, I'm sorry,
yes.
because I was confused. I
No,
thought we were giving
no,
relief there, that we were
no.
buying them
well,
out.
we're
or-
gonna give them relief on the required number of PDRs, but that's a private transaction between them and a.
I'm
Yes.
sorry,
Right.
I'm sorry.
My
Okay.
understanding is that they have already purchased or are in the process of purchasing all that would have been required under the previous ordinance. However, the project, as Mary Beth indicated, was done in several phases, and subdivision and additional work was done just prior to.
Okay.
The application.
I had it wrong. I thought we were supplementing the TDR.
No, sir.
for that.
Yeah. And the 30% threshold. Is this project gonna push us to 30%? Do you know?
There's only 35 units, so I can't imagine, no.
Because we're at 27 now.
You'll be a point something of a percentage, I'm sure, by the time it's all done.
And we do have, we do have provisions in
The
text
ordinance,
amendments.
yes.
To allow, to try to incentivize some workforce housing, and this project qualifies under those provisions.
It does. Yes.
Yeah, I was confused.
Yeah,
I thought,
it's not
you
a
know,
subsidy,
Yeah, I just still do, I am a homer. I still do wish that
I know.
you had to show that Calvert County,
Yeah.
residency thing.
Yeah, and you said that, I just want to make sure people listening understand.
Yeah,
this
I
is
was
not a-
confused. I thought when I first
no.
read that we were subsidizing that, so that's my mistake.
Because that's what we hear the most, is our own people, our teachers, our
Right.
nurses, our firefighters, sheriff's deputies. They're the ones with the most need.
It reminds me of the CDA program you and I have talked about then several times where I couldn't make more than, I think it was like 40,000 or something. I'm like, well, that's gonna be easy.
So we can't, there's no requirement that county residents get first shot.
No.
But they could do that.
I have to look into that because I know you can't
Are they
with some
state
grants.
subsidized in any way?
Well, they're low-income housing tax credits.
So that would probably bump that, I would think. I don't know.
I'll look into that and get back to you to let you know.
So somebody's here. You want to get up and introduce yourselves? You've heard the discussion, and maybe you can provide some light, because we don't want to get into illegal territory.
Sure. Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Tyler Grody. I'm Executive Vice President with Osprey Property Company. So we're the developer for Calvert Hills 2 as well as Calvert Hills Phase 1. Jennifer did a great job actually outlining the low-income housing tax credit program, and I think that was one of the best descriptions that I've heard somebody describe the program. So this Phase 2, just specifically this, 35 units, we were awarded an allocation of tax credits by the state of Maryland as part of a competitive application process. She is correct in that the 35 units of this phase are restricted to households earning no more than 60% of area median income, which for 2024, Washington Metro is 154,000 is the area median income. So family of four is 92,000, something like that. So, you know, from our experience on Phase 1, and to answer the one question about the preference for Calvert County residents, I wish that could be the case, but there are pretty specific fair housing federal regulations about we can't give preference to geographic locations. So if somebody comes from wherever they come from, we can't bump them up the line or bump a Calvert County existing resident ahead in the queue, if you will, and it's just a fair housing federal regulation. So by and large, the residents that we do see there, like you mentioned, we have a large waiting list. We have police officers, we have teachers, I know we have public servants who work there, or live there, excuse me. It's been a great community for us since it opened in 2021.
Are most of them local?
Yes, we get, and our nonprofit partner, our local partner in the project is the Calvert Housing Authority of Calvert County. So we work closely with them, and they refer residents who are looking for housing when our wait list opens up. So we're committed to being here and working with the community, and we have a good relationship with the Housing Authority. And so the point was made that this waiver, we missed that cutoff date for being grandfathered in under that one TDR per unit by less than 60 days. So it was like, unfortunate, but our hope is we already secured the 35 TDRs that we need from a private owner at a market rate. He was looking, to your conversation earlier, he was looking to unload them because he was looking for some money for his own, for whatever he wanted it for at this time. So we've already secured that, and we're just asking to be grandfathered in under that. We're not asking for a full waiver. We want to just follow the rules as we thought they were when we started this project 2.5 years ago. In the Phase 1, we spent about $2 million building that roundabout and new public road, the Calvert Hills Road. So that was out of our budget, out of our pocket to build that. And we think this project has been very successful for us and for the county. So we just respectfully request, meet us in the middle, allow us to fall in under the old grandfather rules, and I think that's a reasonable request on our behalf, so.
Well, thank you, we appreciate the
Yeah,
information.
absolutely.
So quick question, you have a waiting list on your current
Yes,
site?
yes, sir.
What is it now? How many people on it?
I'd have to check on that, but at one point, when we
Pretty
first opened
significant.
up, pretty significant, a couple hundred people,
Really?
actually.
Okay.
A lot of applications.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yep, absolutely.
Any other questions? Motion?
Mr. President, I move that we grant the waiver of the additional 34 TDRs required by zoning text amendment case 20-21-02.
Second.
A motion is second that we grant the request. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all today.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to old business, Office of the County Administrator.
Hello, Commissioners. Linda Turner, Deputy County Administrator.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Emily Shreves, Temporary Constituent Services Specialist.
Temporary.
It's true.
We ask that we forego the reading of the memo. We've incorporated the memo into the presentation. Thank you.
That'll be fine.
So, on May 29th, the Commissioners adopted Resolution 9-24, which established the Calvert County Student Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee. Today's presentation is an update on our progress with meeting membership requirements as outlined in the enacting resolution. Before we move on, we just want to thank our partner agencies, the Sheriff's Office, Calvert County Public Schools, and Community Resources, and our County Attorney's Office, just to name a few, who have assisted our team with the progress made to date. We also appreciate the recent changes made at Calvert County Public Schools by Dr. Townsend and his administration. And with that, I'll turn it over to Emily.
Thank you. So we just want to go back over the membership requirements because the resolution that was adopted has very specific membership requirements in terms of the seats on the committee. So first, we're going to go back over the recommending bodies. So there are multiple organizations that we're partnered with to have seats on the Student Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee. You can see them up on the presentation. So we have the Calvert Education Association, as well as the Association of Educational Support Staff. We have the Sheriff's Office, the Maryland State Police, and two seats by the Health Department that focus on mental health and well-being, and the other one focuses on treatment of substance abuse. And the final recommending body that has a seat on the committee is the Maryland Center for School Safety. So we're happy to report that we've received recommendations from all of these organizations, so that is something that we have completed and will be ready for you. Next slide, please. So the other part of the membership requirements is that we have 6 seats for each district, so two seats per district, as well as an appointment from the Board of County Commissioners to serve as the chair of the committee. So that will be 15 total voting committee members on the Student Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee. There will also be some ex officio members, so the Deputy County Administrator, Linda Turner, the Superintendent, Dr. Townsend, as well as the Directors of Community Resources and Communications and Media Relations. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. So we want to do some reporting to you guys on the applications that we received. So for District 1, we received 11 applications. For District 2, we received 17 applications. And for District 3, we received 14 applications for a total of 42 applications to serve on these district seats. So where we're at, what we've done so far is we compiled a panel including staff from the Office of the County Administrator, the Department of Community Resources, the Sheriff's Office, and Calvert County Public Schools, and they have scored these applications based on certain criteria. So these applications are scored. So what is next? So we're going to take the top scoring applicants from each district, and this panel is going to be conducting interviews to make final decisions. So again, 2 from each seat are going to end up being appointed to the board based on their application score, based on their interview, and of course, based on the recommendation by the Board of County Commissioners. So this Friday, we'll be having our first interview session with the panel and with the District 1 applicants. And then after the holiday weekend, after Labor Day, on Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll be doing District 2 and District 3 interviews. The panelists will finalize their recommendations by next week. And finally, at the next commissioners' meeting on September 10th, staff will present their appointment recommendations for you all, and we will have appointments to this committee. So then we can start, moving on and getting some meetings done and moving forward. So we'll also be sending letters of appointment as well as letters of regret to all of the applicants involved in the process. So that is where we're at right now. And do you have any questions for Linda and I?
I was just wondering what was going on.
That's what's going on.
Seemed to be taking a long time.
Well, I want to say that was Emily's first presentation, and you nailed it.
Thank you very much, sir.
She sure
Appreciate
did.
it.
You
Appreciate
did.
it. I
Great job.
appreciate the
Linda better be
opportunity.
scared.
I appreciate the
She'll
opportunity.
be taking over
You
one
didn't
day.
pick up on temporary. She meant temporary at that position.
Well,
That's
I
right.
see. You're right. You're right.
See, yeah.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come up. It's always a great experience, so thank you guys.
Good
And,
job.
Good job.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you have any other questions beyond today, feel free to
It's-
give us a call.
It's nice to see we had 42 applicants.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I thought
wonderful.
that was
A
Absolutely.
lot of involvement.
Yeah, a lot of great interest and a wide variety of candidates as well. Then they all bring something different to the table, so we're just excited to move forward and get some perspectives.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Mr. County Attorney, I believe that brings us to public comment.
Thank you, sir. The board adopted a resolution in 1989 intending to maintain the order and decorum of the governmental process. A copy is found here to my right. Persons are welcome to address the Board of County Commissioners on any matter germane to the business of county government. Those addressing the board shall not be uncivil, rude, vulgar, profane, or otherwise disruptive to the conduct of the board's business. All speakers must identify themselves. Whether speaking as an individual, will you be allocated 2 minutes, or as the appointed spokesperson of a group, will you be allocated 5. For those attending virtually, please press star 9 or use the raise your hand function. The Ethics Commission has asked that we remind speakers of public comment that lobbyists include those who seek to influence public policy, and lobbyists must register in advance. Is there anyone in the room here who wishes to provide public comment?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Sheila Kufall, and I am a resident of the Ring.
Yeah.
I'm not a great orator. so that's not a bad thing.
You're doing just fine.
And I know Mr. Norris here has his timer
I haven't
set.
started yet.
He's
You ready?
working on it.
I'm ready.
Okay.
So I would like to read, sorry. My name is Sheila Kufall, and I am a resident of the Ranch Estates. I'm here today concerning the Lusby Villas. Not to beat a dead horse, but it's not dead yet, as far as we're concerned. Like to remind the Board of County Commissioners your mission statement. Be responsible and accountable to all citizens of Calvert County, provide high-quality, effective, and efficient services, preserve Calvert County's environment, heritage, and rural character, foster opportunities for responsible, sustainable residential growth and economic development, and support Calvert County's essential institution and keep them strong. That being said, hope I don't go over my 2 minutes. My experience with the Planning Commission is they have no desire to hear the concerns of the residents. Mrs. Williams presented a motion to vote on the final stage prior to hearing the concerns at the last meeting. The vote was approved before hearing any of our concerns. Commissioner Hart had requested the vote be delayed until the updated traffic study could be reviewed, and that request was denied. Listening to Mrs. Cook, Director of Planning and Zoning at the July BOCC meeting, she stated the county is using data from Anne Arundel County. During this meeting, it was clear Mrs. Cook is a proponent of the PUD zoning, which would further diminish our rural communities, which was shot down by the board, thank God. I spent 30 years in Anne Arundel County, watching it go from a wonderful rural area to a clustered urban area, where on most days, traveling 10 miles would take 45 minutes. It's clear we have people in positions that do not reflect the desires of the majority of Calvert County citizens.
Please wrap up. And you're welcome to submit it in writing. If you want to email that to the clerk, we can give you an email address.
So there are significant issues with this proposed project. Environmental, traffic, and the only people on this board that we feel is representing us is Mrs. Grasso and Mr. Hart. The three of you.
Thank you. We do have others who are wishing to provide comment. Joining us virtually, you press *6 to unmute yourself, identify yourself, and whether speaking as an individual or as the designated representative of a group.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Joe Cormier, and I'm calling on my smoke break to talk on behalf of myself. Today, we talked about TDRs again. Calvert County is only 136,000 acres, and 32,000 acres have been preserved through this program. What is our overarching goal? How many acres left are going to be eligible for this program? A total of 26,000 TDRs have been certified, and of those, 19,916 have been sold from the APD, but not retired by the county into the PAR. Of those, 1,100 TDRs have been purchased and retired by the county. What is our overarching goal? Can we really afford to have $12 million in this slush fund to pay farmers for their TDRs? And at what point are we going to say enough is enough? And I would also like to request that, sometime in the near future, the commissioners and their staff put together a presentation explaining how we got that $22 million cut from the state toward education, what we're going to do to fix it, and where we're going to go from here. Because if we're not going to get an appeal from SDAT until October 2025, what are you going to sit down in front of Fitch and tell them in December when it's time for our bond rating? What are we going to say when we say, we're in a protracted lawsuit with this LNG plant, so we don't know when the taxes are going to get raised again? And what are we going to do about all of the civil lawsuits that are pending against the county due to law enforcement actions? How are you going to sit there and tell them that we're a thriving, well-balanced community when we don't have enough money to put lint in our pocket? So I really hope that you come up with a good plan and that the Budget and Finance can find that $17 million rolling around the couch cushions that was talked about in the community, and we get some transparency and a line-by-line budget going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. President, that is the last person that's signed up to speak.
Thank you. That brings us to Commissioner reports. Commissioner Hart?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. I want to take my time today to talk about the Planning Commission. In our duties, you get spread thin, but that's our problem. That's the responsibility of the commission. So I got to tell you, over the years, I don't recall the Planning Commission, in my opinion, being in this state where members of the board ask questions, no answer. Members of the board ask for more time, not given. If you watch today, several times during here, I tried our best to elaborate on maybe things you were thinking at home, what certain acronyms were or what have you. President Hans stopped a few times today to elaborate on things, and that's his job as the president of the board to lead that meeting. That's his job and his responsibility, that if he thinks that you don't understand something, we have the material, or we should have the material to know it, but you don't have the opportunity to have all the material that we have. And I don't feel that's been done properly here of recent. This board, that board, all boards are for the public, and for the public only. I understand rules, regulations, I understand times, but I do believe that we are a community that works outside of this county. Most of the folks do. You work all day, you race to get home, to go to a meeting, you get given 2 minutes. Planning Commission can't have it both ways. You cannot engage the public, ask them a question, they answer, then turn around and say, oh, no more discussion, no more talking. In my personal opinion, that's not good enough. I was very, very disappointed that I thought members on that board asked intelligent questions. There's one member on that board, I know he knows where every piece of property is in this county. I worked with him. I know to not answer his questions, or if you did, they never came out public to see. And if I missed on something, I apologize. But I just think the citizens deserve better. If you see that they don't understand, I think you're compelled to stop and explain a point. You don't have to vote the way that people think. Look, I have taken votes that some people like, some people don't. This board's going to do that. I've had the privilege to be on 3 boards. And during that time, not everybody's going to vote the same way, or not the way that everybody likes. But you have to be transparent about it. You have to explain your position. I believe you deserve to know that the people you elected, or the people that we appoint on boards, explain that. It's not good enough. Just sit there, be silent, act like you're annoyed that somebody has a different opinion than you, and vote your way. I just think the citizens deserve better than that. I'm sorry for coming off negative like that, but I'm sorry. Just sitting there watching it, I understand why people are upset. So, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Grasso?
On 8/21, I attended the Planning Commission meeting at the HAB, and also like to wish the children a happy school year. We have 6 that just went back to school, and everybody's excited. So let's have a good school year.
Everybody's excited?
They are. They are.
Zach wasn't this morning.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
All 6
I
of
bet
my
there's one in the bunch not as excited
No.
as the others.
All 6 of them are
Well, that's
truly
good.
excited.
That's
Well,
excellent.
one's a senior in college, so he's
Ooh.
especially excited. So, and they're going to middle school, high school, starting college, finishing up college. So everybody's at a different stage, and they're very excited about the school year. And that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Cox?
Thank you, Mr. President. And I too had 2 grandkids start school again this year, and I wish them the best throughout this year. And on Saturday, I attended the first responders event at the Bluecraft Stadiums, and I just want to say that Calvert County was very well attended with fans and representing Calvert County. So,
Did you throw out the
thank you.
first pitch?
I did not. I wasn't at Lucky Mike, and,
Hey, look, if you need somebody.
they put me over
Okay, it's proven, okay?
He did get it over
It's
the
on
plate.
tape, okay? I mean, you know.
It was
I mean,
over the plate. The plate might have been
you know,
really big.
I mean, I hate to have to put it out there sometimes, you know, but, you know, sometimes you gotta show off.
Sorry, Commissioner.
No. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ireland?
As I said, school's back in. Please be extra vigilant when you're driving. We got school buses and kids all over the place. Last thing we want to do is have a crash and injure one of our youth. Labor Day weekend's coming up. Have a safe and happy Labor Day weekend. Spend time with family, friends. It's hard to believe summer's over.
Oh, I can't
Too
believe
quick.
it.
The older you get, the worse it is. I'm just telling you.
We're closing our pool today.
Are you really? You got more time?
No, Frank and I are going out of the country, so by the time we come
When you
back,
leaving?
It'd be green.
What's that address?
Thursday.
I'll be there.
Okay. Go under the cover, dog paddle.
Prison Island, you got your grill, you know, I know a place for a little pool
We haven't
party.
party yet. What's your address again?
What's that address? And when you leaving?
Thursday.
Key still on the mat?
Too much information.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Thank you, Commissioner Ireland. So, it is sad to see summer in because time does go really fast, much faster than it used to. I just do want to say, you know, we had a person just made public comment, and just want to clarify a couple of things. three of us did not attend the town hall meeting in Luz because we have a little thing called the Open Meetings Act that we have to follow. And that meeting did not have appropriate advertising, and only 2 members could attend because we can't have a majority. So I watched on TV. Everybody that has emailed, I think everybody that has emailed, I've responded to, is presenting the facts as best I can. I've said many times, I don't like apartments, but the problem is that there is already a process in place, and there are rules and regulations that they follow, and if people follow those rules and regulations, you just can't stop a project. And this board, if you're keeping track, and the new zoning ordinance is taking actions to try to stop those kinds of projects in the future, but you can't go back in time, and you can't retroactively change the rules because you don't like what's coming. They started clearing land up here behind Radio Shack this week, which is just a sign of something else that's coming. And, until they clear those trees, you don't really think about it. But then when they clear those trees, it's coming. And I swear now I look up there and I just, but once again, legally, I don't know of anything we can do to stop them. I'm all ears. But look, just because we don't show up in a meeting does not mean we don't care. As I said, I watch them all on TV. Sometimes, we can't go. Sometimes I am concerned about the presence of a commissioner. A commissioner is allowed to attend, pretty much anything they want legally. It's a challenge for us. I can assure you. It's not just, I don't want you to feel like you're alone out there, but, it's, I have to follow legal instructions, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. And it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I've tried to correct that in the emails, and I get responses back that they don't like what I say, but I'm just trying to present the facts. And if you can show where my facts are incomplete or in error, I certainly would take that in account. But, we're just trying to follow the rules and regulations as they are today, and that's the best we can do.
So the county website actually has a lot of the facts on there as well.
It does. There's a Q&A on the county website for all the issues that have been raised. So, anyway, as was mentioned, today's first day of school. I had a second grader at my house this morning. I think he was excited to go to school. I asked him, was he excited? And he said yes. And my other grandchildren in South Carolina, they started 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
So they've already been in school for 2 weeks. But just be extra careful, especially this first week or so. The buses are figuring out routes, and people are in a hurry to get to places. And until they get really settled in, it's going to be a little chaotic. It's going to take 2 weeks, most likely, before we get back in the routine. But just be careful, and as Commissioner Arlen said, have a safe and happy Labor Day weekend. I believe that's all I have. Does somebody have a motion for me?
Yes, I'm
Thank you.
sitting here looking at the sky.
That's okay.
Okay. I move that we recess to closed session pursuant to Section 3-305B, 1I, to discuss the appointment of a person over whom the board has jurisdiction. 1II, to discuss a personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. 3, to discuss the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and related matters. 4, to consider a proposal for a business to locate or remain within the state. And 8, to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending or potential litigation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we go into executive session. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.